in that sector. So I think the solution is going to be the big picture, some thrust in consumption, some thrust in investment, coupled with some reforms which will be carried on not just in 1 year but over a course of next 3-4 years. We have also been highlighting that we need to look at jobs, skills and MSME together as one big, let's say, holistic picture, because MSMEs create jobs and jobs need skilled people, and I think we need to look at this in one single way. And I think there'll be something for MSME, something for skilling, and that will spur the momentum towards jobs and also towards more higher paying jobs. That really probably is going to be the framework of the budget. This budget is going to be the next step in moving forward towards Viksit Bharat.
Rajiv Memani joins us. He heads up Ernst & Young in India as the president designate this year of CII. Mr. Memani, the gap between the chief economic advisor's prediction for growth next year and what we need to be Viksit Bharat by 2047, which is 8% real GDP growth. What do you think the finance minister should really say in a couple of minutes from now to try and bridge that gap?
Yeah, I would say that's a longer term, not all of that gets covered in the budget, but Rahul, I do hope it's a pro-growth budget, which means a very clear laid out, greater thrust on some strategic areas for expenditure, including capex and other things. Some space created for, in terms of personal tax relief, especially for lower to middle income people, to spur consumption. More aggressive path on disinvestment so that it gives the capital, so the fiscal glide path is maintained, but it gives the capital to allocate towards capex and also to provide some relief, which will lead to consumption. And also a very well laid out path on some strategic areas of reforms, whether it is for production-linked incentives for the labor-intensive industries, things on skilling, which are very important, agriculture and sustainability. I think a lot of the longer-term pieces will come through if we are able to execute on the reforms and the initiatives that are laid out in the budget.
So we'll come back, Mr. Memani, for more after the budget speech is over. Om Birla Rajdeep just walking in. Finance Minister Sitharaman in a few seconds will start presenting her budget.
That's right. 8th consecutive budget. We can go back in time to finance ministers over the years who presented more than half a dozen budgets and their names stand out. The likes of Morarji Desai, Yashwant Sinha, P. Chidambaram are the three that stand out, and Nirmala Sitharaman is in that constellation, presenting her 8th consecutive budget. Expect the opposition to make the odd noise, but by and large, it should be relatively peaceful.
And Rajiv Memani at Ernst & Young was speaking about disinvestment. It will be interesting to see if the finance minister talks about that in the budget. It's not been a priority for a couple of years, but if the PM is serious about, getting out of the way, government having no business with being in business, we'll find out soon enough if they'll walk the talk.
अभिभाषण में आपको पर्याप्त अवसर दूंगा. मेरा आपसे निवेदन है, नहीं, माननीय अखिलेश जी, आपने संसद की मर्यादा को आप बना के रखें. कभी बजट भाषण के अंदर इस तरीके का नहीं हुआ. ये उचित नहीं है. ये उचित नहीं है. अखिलेश जी, प्लीज, मैं आपको मौका दूंगा राज्यपाल अभिभाषण पे, प्लीज. नो, ये तरीका ठीक नहीं है. नो, राज्यपाल अभिभाषण पे चर्चा होगी. नो तरीका.
Honorable Speaker, I present the budget for 25-26. This budget continues our government's efforts to A. Accelerate growth, B. Secure inclusive development, C. Invigorate private sector investments, D. Uplift household sentiments, and E. Enhance spending power of India's rising middle class. Together, we embark on a journey to unlock our nation's tremendous potential for greater prosperity and global positioning under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. As we complete the first quarter of the the 21st century, continuing geopolitical headwinds suggest lower global economic growth over the medium term. However, our aspiration for a Vikasit Bharat inspires us, and the transformative work we have done during our government's first 2 terms guides us to march forward resolutely. Our economy is the fastest growing among all major economies. Our development track record for the past 10 years and structural reforms have drawn global attention. Confidence in India's capability and potential has only grown in this period. We see the next 5 years as a unique opportunity to realize Sabka Vikas, stimulating balanced growth of all regions. The great Telugu poet and playwright Gurujada Apparao had said, "Deshamante matti kadoy, deshamante manushuloy," meaning a country is not just its soil, a country is its people. In line with this, for us, Vikasit Bharat encompasses zero poverty, 100% quality good school education, access to high quality, affordable and comprehensive health care, 100% skilled labor with meaningful employment, 70% women in economic activities, and farmers making our country the food basket of the world. In this budget, the proposed development measures span 10 broad areas, focusing on Garib, youth, Annadata, and Nari, spurring agricultural growth and productivity, building rural prosperity and resilience, taking everyone together on an inclusive growth path, boosting manufacturing and furthering Make in India, supporting MSMEs, enabling employment-led development, investing in people, economy, and innovation, securing energy supplies, promoting exports, and nurturing innovation. For this journey of development, our 4 powerful engines are agriculture, MSME, investments, and exports. The fuel, our reforms, our guiding spirit, inclusivity, and the destination, Vikasit Bharat. This budget aims to initiate transformative reforms across 6 domains. During the first 5 years, these will augment our growth potential and global competitiveness. The domains are taxation, power sector, urban development, mining, financial sector, and regulatory reforms. Agriculture as the first engine. Now I move to specific proposals, beginning with agriculture as the first engine. Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, developing agri-districts program. Motivated by the success of the aspirational district program, our government will undertake a Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana in partnership with states. Through the convergence of existing schemes and specialized measures, the program will cover 100 districts with low productivity, moderate crop intensity, and below average credit parameters. It aims to 1. Enhance agricultural productivity, 2. Adopt crop diversification and sustainable agricultural practices, 3. Augment post-harvest storage at the panchayat and block level, 4. Improve irrigation facilities, and 5. Facilitate availability of long-term and short-term credit. This program is likely to help 1.7 crore farmers. Building rural prosperity and resilience. A comprehensive multi-sectoral rural prosperity and resilience program will be launched in partnership with the states. This will address underemployment in agriculture through skilling, investment, technology, and invigorating the rural economy. The goal is to generate ample opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option but not a necessity. The program will focus on rural women, young farmers, rural youth, marginal and small farmers, and landless families. The details are in Annexure A. Domestic best practices will be incorporated, and appropriate technical and financial assistance will be sought from multilateral development banks. In Phase 1, 100 developing agri-districts will be covered. Atmanirbharta in pulses. Our government is implementing the National Mission for Edible Oilseed for achieving Atmanirbharta in edible oils. Our farmers have the capability to grow enough for our needs and more. 10 years ago, we made concerted efforts and succeeded in achieving near self-sufficiency in pulses. Farmers responded to the need by increasing the cultivated area by 50%, and government arranged for procurement and remunerative prices. Since then, with rising incomes and better affordability, our consumption of pulses has increased significantly. Our government will now launch a 6-year mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses with a special focus on Tuar, Urad, and Masoor. Details are in Annexure B. Central agencies such as NAFED and NCCF will be ready to procure these 3 pulses as much as offered during the next 4 years from farmers who register with these agencies and enter into agreements. Comprehensive program for vegetables and fruits. It is encouraging that our people are increasingly becoming aware of their nutritional needs. It is a sign of a society becoming healthier. With rising income levels, the consumption of vegetables, fruits, and Shri Anna is increasing significantly. A comprehensive program to promote production, efficient supplies, processing, and remunerative prices for farmers will be launched in partnership with the states. Appropriate institutional mechanisms for implementation and participation of farmer producer organizations and cooperatives will be set up. Makhana board in Bihar. For this, there is a special opportunity for the people of Bihar. A Makhana board will be established in the state to improve production, processing, value addition, and marketing of Makhana. The people engaged in these activities will be organized into FPOs. The board will provide hand-holding and training support to Makhana farmers and will also work to ensure they receive the benefits of all relevant government schemes. A national mission on high-yielding seeds will be launched, aimed at 1. Strengthening research ecosystem, 2. Targeted development and propagation of seeds with high yield, pest resistance, and climate resilience, and 3. Commercial availability of more than 100 seed varieties released since July 2024. India ranks 2nd largest globally in fish production and aquaculture. Seafood exports are valued at 60,000 crore rupees. To unlock the untapped potential of the marine sector, our government will bring in an enabling framework for sustainable harnessing of fisheries from Indian exclusive economic zone and high seas, with a special focus on the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep Islands. For the benefit of lakhs of cotton growing farmers, I am pleased to announce a mission for cotton productivity. This 5-year mission will facilitate significant improvements in productivity and sustainability of cotton farming and promote extra long staple cotton varieties. The best of science and technology support will be provided to farmers. aligned with our integrated 5F vision for the textile sector. This will help in increasing incomes of the farmers and ensure a steady supply of quality cotton for rejuvenating India's traditional textile sector. Kisan credit cards facilitate short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers, fishermen, and dairy farmers. The loan limit under modified interest subvention scheme will be enhanced from 3 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees for loans taken through the KCC. For Atmanirbharta in urea production, our government had reopened 3 dormant urea plants in the eastern region. To further augment urea supply, a plant with annual capacity of 12.7 lakh metric tons will be set up at Namrup in Assam. India Post, with 1.5 lakh rural post offices, complemented by the India Post Payment Bank and a vast network of 2.4 lakh Dak Sevaks, will be repositioned to act as a catalyst for the rural economy. Details are at Annexure C. India Post will also be transformed as a large public logistics organization. This will meet the rising needs of Vishwakarmas, new entrepreneurs, women, self-help groups, MSMEs, and the large business organizations. Our government will provide support to NCDC for its lending operations for the cooperative sector. MSMEs as the second engine. Now I move to MSMEs as the second engine, which encompasses manufacturing and services with a focus on MSMEs numbering 5.7 crores. Currently, over 1 crore registered MSMEs, employing 7.5 crore people and generating 36% of our manufacturing, have come together to position India as a global manufacturing hub. With their quality products, these MSMEs are responsible for 45% of our exports. To help them achieve higher efficiencies of scale, technological upgradation, and better access to capital, the investment and turnover limits for classification of all MSMEs will be enhanced to 2.5 and 2 times respectively. This will give them the confidence to grow and generate employment for our youth. The details are given in Annexure D. To improve access to credit, the credit guarantee cover will be enhanced. First, for micro and small enterprises from 5 crore to 10 crore rupees, leading to additional credit of 1.5 lakh crores in the next 5 years. Second, for startups from 10 crore rupees to 20 crore rupees, with the guarantee fee being moderated to 1% for loans in 27 focus sectors which are important for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And for well-run exporter MSMEs, for term loans up to 20 crore rupees. Also for the micro enterprises, we will introduce customized credit cards with a 5 lakh rupee limit for micro enterprises registered on Udyam portal. In the first year, 10 lakh such cards will be issued. Fund of funds for startups. The Alternate Investment Fund, AIFs, for startups have received commitments of more than 91,000 crores rupees. These are supported by the Fund of Funds set up with the Government of India's contribution of 10,000 crore rupees. Now, a new fund of funds with expanded scope and a fresh contribution of another 10,000 crore rupees will be set up. A new scheme will be launched for 5 lakh women, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, first-time entrepreneurs. This will provide term loans up to 2 crore rupees during the next 5 years. The scheme will incorporate lessons from the successful Stand Up India scheme, online capacity building for entrepreneurship and managerial skills will also be organized. Measures for labor-intensive sectors. To promote employment and entrepreneurship opportunities in labor-intensive sectors, our government will undertake specific policy and facilitation measures. To enhance the productivity, quality, and competitiveness of India's footwear and leather sector, a focused product scheme will be implemented. The scheme will support design capacity, component manufacturing, and machinery required for production of non-leather quality footwear, besides the support for leather footwear and products. The scheme is expected to facilitate employment for 22 lakh persons, generate over 4 lakh crore rupees, and exports of over 1.1 lakh crore rupees. Measures for the toys sector. Building on the National Action Plan for Toys, we will implement a scheme to make India a global hub for toys. The scheme will focus on development of clusters, skills, and a manufacturing ecosystem that will create high-quality, unique, innovative, and sustainable toys that will represent the Made in India brand. Support for food processing. In line with our commitment towards Purvodaya, we will establish a National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in Bihar. The institute will provide a strong fillip to food processing activities in the entire eastern region. This will result in 1. Enhanced income for the farmers through value addition to their produce, and 2. Skilling entrepreneurship and employment opportunities for the youth. Manufacturing mission, furthering Make in India. Our government will set up a national manufacturing mission covering small, medium, and large industries for furthering Make in India by providing policy support, execution roadmaps, governance, and monitoring framework for central ministries and states. Details are in Annexure E. Given our commitment to climate-friendly development, the mission will also support clean tech manufacturing. This will aim to improve domestic value addition and build our ecosystem for solar PV cells, EV batteries, motors and controllers, electrolyzers, wind turbines, very high voltage transmission equipment, and grid-scale batteries. Investment as the third engine. Now I move to investment as the third engine, which encompasses investing in people, investing in the economy, and investing in innovation. Investing in people. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 program provides nutritional support to more than 8 crore children, 1 crore pregnant women and lactating mothers all over the country, and about 20 lakh adolescent girls in aspirational districts and the Northeast region. The cost norms for these nutritional support will be enhanced appropriately. Atal Tinkering Labs. 50,000 Atal Tinkering Labs will be set up in government schools in the next 5 years to cultivate the spirit of curiosity and innovation and foster a scientific temper among young minds. Broadband connectivity to government secondary schools and PHCs. Broadband connectivity will be provided to all government secondary schools and primary health centers in rural areas under the BharatNet project. Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme. We propose to implement a Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme to provide digital form Indian language books for schools and for higher education. This aims to help students understand their subjects better and in their language. National Centers of Excellence for Skilling. The initiative announced in the July 24 budget. 5 national centers of excellence for skilling will be set up with global expertise and partnerships to equip our youth with the skills required for Make for India, Make for the World manufacturing. The partnership will cover curriculum design, training of trainers, and a skills certification framework and periodic reviews. Expansion of capacity in IITs. Total number of students in 23 IITs has increased 100% from 65,000 to 1.35 lakh in the past 10 years. Additional infrastructure will be created in the 5 IITs started after 2014 to facilitate education for 6,500 more students. Hostel and other infrastructure capacity at IIT Patna will also be expanded. Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence in AI for Education. I had announced 3 centers of excellence in artificial intelligence for agriculture, health, and sustainable cities in 2023. Now a center of excellence in artificial intelligence for education will be set up with a total outlay of 500 crores. Expansion of medical education. Our government has added almost 1.1 lakh undergraduate and postgraduate medical education seats in 10 years, an increase of 130%. In the next year, 10,000 additional seats will be added in medical colleges and hospitals towards the goal of adding 75,000 seats in the next 5 years. Daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals. Our government will facilitate setting up of daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals in the next 3 years. 200 centers will be established in 25-26 itself. Strengthening urban livelihoods. Our government has been giving priority to assisting urban poor and vulnerable groups. A scheme for socio-economic upliftment of urban workers will be implemented to help them improve their incomes, have sustainable livelihoods, and a better quality of life. PM Swanidhi scheme has benefited more than 68 lakh street vendors, giving them respite from high-interest informal sector loans. Building on this success, the scheme will be revamped with enhanced loans from banks, UPI-linked credit cards with 30,000 rupees limit, and capacity building support. Social Security Scheme for welfare of online platform workers. Gig workers of online platforms provide dynamism to the new age services economy. Recognizing their contribution, our government will arrange for their identity cards and registration on the e-Shram portal. They will be provided health care under PM Jan Arogya Yojana. This measure is likely to assist nearly 1 crore gig workers. Investing in the economy, public-private partnership in infrastructure. Each infrastructure-related ministry will come up with a 3-year pipeline of projects that can be implemented in PPP mode. States will also be encouraged to do so and can seek support from the India Infrastructure Project Development Fund, which is a scheme to prepare PPP proposals. Support to states for infrastructure. An outlay of 1.5 lakh crore is proposed for the 50-year interest-free loans to states for capital expenditure and incentives for reforms. Building on the success of the first asset monetization plan announced in 2021, the second plan for 2025 to 30 will be launched to plow back capital of 10 lakh crore in new projects. Regulatory and fiscal measures will be fine-tuned to support the plan. Jal Jeevan Mission. Since 2019, 15 crore households, representing 80% of India's rural population, have been provided access to portable tap water connections. To achieve 100% coverage, I am pleased to announce the extension of this mission until 2028 with an enhanced total outlay. The mission's focus will be on the quality of infrastructure and O&M of rural piped water supply schemes through Jan Bhagidari. A separate MOU or separate MOUs will be signed with the states and union territories to ensure sustainability and citizen-centric water services delivery. Urban sector reforms. Building on the July budget proposals, urban sector reforms related to governance, municipal services, urban land and planning will be incentivized. Urban Challenge Fund. The government will set up an urban challenge fund of 1 lakh crore rupees to implement the proposals for cities as growth hubs, creative redevelopment of cities, and for water and sanitation purposes announced in the July budget. This fund will finance up to 25% of the cost of bankable projects, with a stipulation that at least 50% of the cost is funded from bonds, bank loans, and PPPs. An allocation of 10,000 crore is proposed in 2025-26. Power sector reforms. We will incentivize electricity distribution reforms and augmentation of intra-state transmission capacity by states. This will improve financial health and capacity of electricity companies. Additional borrowing of 0.5% of GSDP will be allowed to states contingent on these reforms. Nuclear energy mission for Vikasit Bharat. Development of at least 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047 is essential for our energy transition efforts. For an active partnership with the private sector towards this goal, amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act will be taken up. A nuclear energy mission for research and development of small modular reactors with an outlay of 20,000 crore will be set up. At least 5 indigenously developed small modular reactors will be operationalized by 2033. Shipbuilding. The shipbuilding financial assistance policy will be revamped to address cost disadvantages. This will also include credit notes for shipbreaking in Indian yards to promote the circular economy. Large ships above a specified size will be included in the infrastructure harmonized master list. shipbuilding clusters will be facilitated to increase the range, categories, and capacity of ships. This will include additional infrastructure, facilities, skilling, and technology to develop the entire ecosystem. Maritime Development Fund. For long-term financing for the maritime industry, a Maritime Development Fund with a corpus of 25,000 crore rupees will be set up. This will be for distributed support and promoting competition. This will have up to 49% contribution by the government, and the balance will be mobilized from ports and from private sector. UDAN regional connectivity schemes. UDAN has enabled 1.5 crore middle-class people to meet their aspirations for speedier travel. The scheme has connected 88 airports, and operationalized 619 routes. Inspired by that success, a modified UDAN scheme will be launched to enhance regional connectivity to 120 new destinations and carry 4 crore passengers in the next 10 years. 4 crore additional passengers in the next 10 years. The scheme will also support helipads and smaller airports in hilly, aspirational, and northeast regional districts. Greenfield airports will be facilitated in Bihar to meet the future needs of the state. These will be in addition to the expansion of the capacity of Patna Airport and a brownfield airport in Beta. Western Kosi Canal project in Mithilanchal. Financial support will be provided for the Western Kosi Canal ERM project, benefiting a large number of farmers, cultivating over 50,000 hectares of land in the Mithilanchal region of Bihar. Mining sector reforms. Mining sector reforms, including those for minor minerals, will be encouraged through sharing of best practices and institutions of a state mining index. A policy for recovery of critical minerals from tailings will be brought out. Under the special window for affordable and mid-income housing, SWAMI, 50,000 dwelling units in stressed housing projects have been completed and keys handed over to home buyers. Another 40,000 units will be completed in 2025, further helping middle-class families who are paying EMIs on loans taken for apartments while also paying rent for their current dwellings. Building on this success, SWAMI Fund 2 will be established as a blended finance facility with contribution from the government, banks, and private investors. This fund of 15,000 crore rupees will aim for expeditious completion of another 1 lakh units. PM Gati Shakti data for private sector. For furthering PPPs and assisting the private sector in project planning, access to relevant data and maps from the PM Gati Shakti portal will be provided. Tourism for employment-led growth. Top 50 tourist destination sites in the country will be developed in partnership with states through a challenge mode. Land for building key infrastructure will have to be provided by the states. Hotels in these destinations will be included in the infrastructure harmonized list. The following measures will be taken for facilitating employment-led growth. Organizing intensive skill development programs for our youth, including in institutes of hospitality management, providing mudra loans for homestays, improving ease of travel and connectivity to tourist destinations, providing performance-linked incentives to states for effective destination management, including tourist amenities, cleanliness, and marketing efforts, and introducing streamlined e-visa facilities along with visa fee waivers for certain tourist groups. Continuing with the emphasis on places of spiritual and religious significance in the July budget, there will be a special focus on destinations related to the life and times of Lord Buddha. Medical tourism and heal in India. Medical tourism and heal in India will be promoted in partnership with the private sector, along with capacity building and easier visa norms. Investing in innovation. To implement private sector-driven research, development, and innovation initiatives announced in the July budget, I am now allocating 20,000 crore rupees for this purpose. A deep tech fund of funds will also be explored to catalyze the next generation startups as a part of this initiative. In the next 5 years, under the PM Research Fellowship Scheme, we will provide 10,000 fellowships for technological research in IITs and IISc with enhanced financial support. The second gene bank with 10 lakh germplasm lines will be set up for future food and nutritional security. This will provide conservation support to both public and private sectors for genetic resources. We will start a national geospatial mission to develop foundational geospatial infrastructure and data. Using PM Gati Shakti, this mission will facilitate modernization of land records, urban planning, and design of infrastructure projects. A Gyan Bharatam mission for survey, documentation, and conservation of our manuscript heritage with academic institutions, museums, libraries, and private collectors will be undertaken to cover more than 1 crore manuscripts. We will set up a national digital repository of Indian knowledge systems for knowledge sharing. Now I move to exports as the fourth engine. We will set up an export promotion mission with sectoral and ministerial targets driven jointly by the Ministries of Commerce, MSME, and Finance. It will facilitate easy access to export credit, cross-border factoring support, support to MSMEs to tackle non-tariff measures in overseas markets. A digital public infrastructure, Bharat Trade Net, for international trade will be set up as a unified platform for trade documentation and financing solutions. This will complement the Unified Logistics Interface platform. The BTN will be aligned with international practices. Support will be provided to develop domestic manufacturing capacities for our economy's integration with global supply chains. Sectors will be identified based on objective criteria. Facilitation groups with participation of senior officers and industry representatives will be formed for select products and supply chains. Through this, there are huge opportunities related to Industry 4.0, which needs high skills and talent. Our youth have both. Our government will support the domestic electronic equipment industry to leverage this opportunity for the benefit of our youth. A national framework will be formulated as guidance to states for promoting global capability centers in emerging Tier 2 cities. This will suggest measures for enhancing availability of talent and infrastructure, building bylaw reforms, and mechanisms for collaboration with industry. Our government will facilitate upgradation of infrastructure and warehousing for air cargo, including high-value perishable horticultural produce. Cargo screening and customs protocol will be streamlined and made user-friendly. Reforms as the fuel. Over the past 10 years, our government has implemented several reforms for convenience of taxpayers, such as faceless assessment, 2, taxpayer charter, 3, faster returns, 4, almost 99% returns being on self-assessment, and 5, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Continuing these efforts, I reaffirm the commitment of the tax department to trust first, scrutinize later. I also propose to introduce the new income tax bill next week. I will detail the indirect tax reforms and changes in direct taxes in Part B. Financial sector reforms. The FDI limit for the insurance sector will be raised from 74 to 100%. This enhanced limit will be available for those companies which invest the entire premium in India. The current guardrails and conditionalities associated with foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. The services of India Post Payment Bank will be deepened and expanded in rural areas. NABFID will set up a partial credit enhancement facility for corporate bonds for infrastructure. Public sector banks will develop Grameen Credit Score framework to serve the credit needs of SHG members and people in rural areas. A forum for regulatory coordination and development of pension products will be set up. To implement the earlier announcement on simplifying the KYC processes, the revamped Central KYC Registry will be rolled out in 2025. We will also implement a streamlined system for periodic updating. Requirements and procedures for speedy approval of company mergers will be rationalized. The scope for fast-track mergers will also be widened and the process made simpler. As proposed in the interim budget, we signed bilateral investment treaties with 2 countries in 2024 to encourage sustained foreign investment, and in the spirit of First Develop India, the current model BIT will be revamped and made more investor-friendly. In the last 10 years, in several aspects, including financial and non-financial, our government has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to ease of doing business. We are determined to ensure that our regulations must keep up with technological innovations and global policy developments. A light-touch regulatory framework based on principles and trust will unleash productivity and employment. Through this framework, we will update regulations that were made under old laws. To develop this modern, flexible, people-friendly, and trust-based regulatory framework appropriate for the 21st century, I propose 4 specific measures. A high-level committee for regulatory reforms will be set up for a review of all non-financial sector regulations, certifications, licenses, and permissions. The committee will be expected to make recommendations within a year. The objective is to strengthen trust-based economic governance and take transformational measures to enhance ease of doing business, especially in matters of inspection and compliances. States will be encouraged to join in this endeavor. An investment friendliness index of states will be launched in 2025 to further the spirit of competitive, cooperative federalism. Under the Financial Stability and Development Council, a mechanism will be set up to evaluate impact of the current financial regulations and subsidiary instructions. It will also formulate a framework to enhance their responsiveness and development of the financial sector. In the Jan Vishwas Act 2023, more than 180 legal provisions were decriminalized. Our government will now bring up the Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 to decriminalize more than 100 provisions in various laws. I now move to fiscal policy. In the July budget, I had committed to staying the course for fiscal consolidation. Our endeavor will be to keep the fiscal deficit each year such that central government debt remains on a declining path as a percentage of the GDP. The roadmap for the next 6 years has been detailed in the FRBM statement. Revised estimates for 2024-25. The revised estimate of the total receipts other than borrowings is 31.47 lakh crore rupees, of which the net tax receipts are 25.57 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the total expenditure is 47.16 lakh crore rupees, of which the capital expenditure is about 10.18 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the fiscal deficit is 4.8% of the GDP. Budget estimates for 25-26. Coming to 25-26, the total receipts other than borrowings and total expenditure are estimated at 34.96 lakh crore rupees and 50.65 lakh crore rupees respectively. The net tax receipts are estimated at 28.37 lakh crore rupees. The fiscal deficit is estimated to be 4.4% of GDP. To finance the fiscal deficit, the net market borrowings from dated securities are estimated at 11.54 lakh crore. The balance financing is expected to come from small savings and other sources. The gross market borrowings are estimated at 14.82 lakh crore rupees. I will now move to Part B. Indirect taxes. My proposals relating to customs aim to rationalize tariff structure and address duty inversion. These will also support domestic manufacturing and value addition, promote exports, facilitate trade, and provide relief to common people. Rationalization of customs tariff structure for industrial goods. As a part of comprehensive review of customs rate structure announced in July 2024 budget, I propose to 1. Remove 7 tariff rates. This is over and above the 7 tariff rates removed in 23-24 budget. After this, there will be only 8 remaining tariff rates, including 0 rate. 2. Apply appropriate cess to broadly maintain effective duty incidence, except on a few items where such incidence will reduce marginally. 3. Levy not more than 1 cess or surcharge. Therefore, I propose to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to a cess. I shall now take up sector-specific proposals. To provide relief to patients, particularly those suffering from cancer, rare diseases, and other severe chronic diseases, I propose to add 36 life-saving drugs and medicines to the list of medicines fully exempted from basic custom duty. I also propose to add 6 life-saving medicines to the list attracting concessional custom duty of 5%. Full exemption and concessional duty will also respectively apply on the bulk drugs for manufacture of the above. Specified drugs and medicines under patient assistance programs run by the pharmaceutical companies are fully exempt from BCD, provided the medicines are supplied free of cost to the patients. I propose to add 37 more medicines along with 13 new patient assistance programs. Support to domestic manufacturing and value addition. Critical minerals. In the July 2024 budget, I had fully exempted BCD on 25 critical minerals that are not domestically available. I had also reduced BCD of 2 other such minerals to provide a major fillip to their processing, especially by MSMEs. Now, I propose to fully exempt cobalt powder and waste, the scrap of lithium-ion battery, lead, zinc, and 12 more critical minerals. This will help secure the availability for manufacturing in India and promote more jobs for our youth. To promote domestic production of technical textile products such as agro-textiles, medical textiles, and geotextiles at competitive prices, I propose to add 2 more types of shuttle-less looms to the list of fully exempted textile machinery. I also propose to revise the BCD rate on knitted fabrics covered by 9 tariff lines from 10 or 20 to 20% or 115 rupees per kg, whichever is higher. Electronic goods. In line with our Make in India policy and to rectify inverted duty structure, I propose to increase the BCD on interactive flat panel display from 10% to 20% and reduce the BCD to 5% on open cell and other components. In 23-24 budget, for the manufacture of open cells of LCD, LED TVs, I had reduced the BCD on parts of open cells from 5% to 2.5%. To further boost the manufacture of such open cells, the BCD on these parts will now stand exempted. Lithium-ion battery. To the list of exempted capital goods, I propose to add 35 additional capital goods for EV battery manufacturing and 28 additional capital goods for mobile phone battery manufacturing. This will boost domestic manufacture of lithium-ion batteries, both for mobile phones and for electric vehicles. Shipping sector. Considering that shipbuilding has a long gestation period, I propose to continue the exemption of BCD on raw materials, components, consumables, or parts for the manufacture of ships for another 10 years. I also propose the same dispensation for shipbreaking to make it more competitive. Telecommunication. To prevent classification disputes, I propose to reduce the BCD from 20% to 10% on carrier-grade Ethernet switches to make it at par with non-carrier-grade Ethernet switches. Export promotion. To facilitate exports of handicrafts, I propose to extend the time period for export from 6 months to 1 year, further extendable by another 3 months if required. I also propose to add 9 items to the list of duty-free inputs. Leather sector. I propose to fully exempt BCD on wet blue leather to facilitate imports for domestic value addition and employment. I also propose to exempt crust leather from 20% export duty to facilitate exports by small tanners. Marine products. To enhance India's competitiveness in the global seafood market, I propose to reduce BCD from 30% to 5% on frozen fish paste, surimi, for manufacture and export of its analog products. I also propose to reduce BCD from 15% to 5% on fish hydrolysates for manufacture of fish and shrimp feed. In July 2024 budget, to promote development of domestic MROs for aircraft and ships, I had extended the time limit for export of foreign origin goods that were imported for repairs from 6 months to 1 year and further extendable by 1 year. I now propose to extend the same dispensation for railway goods. Time limit for provisional assessment. Presently, the Customs Act 1962 does not provide any time limit to finalize provisional assessments, leading to uncertainty and cost to trade. As a measure of promoting ease of doing business, I propose to fix a time limit of 2 years, extendable by a year, for finalizing the provisional assessment. I propose to introduce a new provision that will enable importers or exporters, after clearance of goods, to voluntarily declare material facts and pay duty with interest but without penalty. This will incentivize voluntary compliance. However, this will not apply in cases where department has already initiated audit or investigation proceedings. For industry to better plan their imports, I propose to extend the time limit for the end use of imported inputs in the relevant rules from 6 months to 1 year. This will provide operational flexibility in view of cost and uncertainty of supply. Further, such importers will now have to file only quarterly statements instead of a monthly statement. I now come to my direct tax proposals. In Part A, I have briefly underlined taxation reforms as one of key reforms to realize our vision of Vikasit Bharat. In respect of criminal law, our government had earlier ushered in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, replacing Bharatiya Danda Sanhita. I am happy to inform this august House and the country that for new income tax bill will carry forward the same spirit of Nyaya in its drafting as well. The new bill will be clear and direct in text, with close to half of the present law in terms of both chapters and words. It will be simple to understand for taxpayers and tax administrators, leading to tax certainty and reduced litigation. Reforms, however, are not a destination. They are means to achieve good governance for our people and economy. Providing good governance primarily involves being responsive. The Tirukkural captures this in verse 542, which reads, "Vaanokki vaazhum ulagallam, mannavan kol nokki vaazhum kudi," meaning, just as the living beings live expecting rains, citizens live expecting good governance. Our government is committed to keeping an ear to the ground and a finger on the pulse and responding while balancing our national building efforts. The following measures will detail just how our government will, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address. I repeat that sentence, sir. The following measures will detail just how our government, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address the needs voiced by our citizens. My tax proposals are guided by this spirit. The objectives of my proposals are as follows. Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Rationalization of TDS and TCS for easing difficulties. Encouraging voluntary compliance. Reducing compliance burden. Ease of doing business, employment and investment. I will come to my proposal on personal income tax towards the end. TDS and TCS, rationalization for easing difficulties. I propose to rationalize tax deduction at source, TDS, by reducing the number of rates and thresholds above which TDS is deducted. Further, threshold amounts for tax deduction will be increased for better clarity and uniformity. The limit for tax deduction on interest for senior citizens is being doubled from the present 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. Similarly, the annual limit of 2.40 lakh rupees for TDS on rent is being increased to 6 lakh rupees. This will reduce the number of transactions liable to TDS, thus benefiting small taxpayers receiving small payments. The threshold to collect tax at source, the TCS, on remittances under RBI's liberalized remittance scheme, the LRS, is proposed to be increased from 7 lakh to 10 lakhs. I also propose to remove TCS on remittances for education purposes, where such remittances is out of a loan taken from a specified financial institution. Both TDS and TCS are being applied on any transaction related to sale of goods. To prevent such compliance difficulties, I propose to omit the TCS. I also propose that the provisions of the higher TDS deduction will now apply only in non-PAN cases. In July 2024, the delay for payment of TDS up to the due date of filing statement was decriminalized. I propose to provide the same relaxation to TCS provisions as well. The government under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi believes in Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas. In line with this, we brought in updated return facility in 2022 for voluntary compliance by taxpayers who had omitted to report their correct income. Our trust in taxpayers was proved right. Nearly 90 lakh taxpayers voluntarily updated their incomes by paying additional tax. Taking this trust further, I now propose to extend the time limit to file updated returns for any assessment year from the current limit of 2 years to 4 years. I propose to reduce the compliance burden for small charitable trusts and institutions by increasing their period of registration from 5 years to 10 years. It is also proposed that disproportionate consequences do not arise for minor defaults such as incomplete applications filed by charitable entities. Presently, taxpayers can claim the annual value of self-occupied properties as nil only on the fulfillment of certain conditions. Considering the difficulties faced by taxpayers, it is proposed to allow the benefit of 2 such self-occupied properties without any condition. To streamline the process of transfer pricing and to provide an alternative to yearly examination, I propose to introduce a scheme for determining arm's length price of international transaction for a block period of 3 years. This will be in line with global best practices. With a view to reduce litigation and provide certainty in international taxation, the scope of safe harbor rules is being expanded. A number of senior and very senior citizens have very old national savings scheme accounts. As interest is no longer payable on such accounts, I propose to exempt withdrawals made from NSS by individuals on or after 29th August 2024. I am also proposing to allow similar treatment to NPS Vatsalya accounts as is available to normal NPS accounts subject to overall limits. In my speech in July 2024, I had promised that all processes, including giving effect to appellate orders, shall be digitalized and made paperless over the next 2 years. So I'm happy to announce that digitalization is being made operational now. In July 2024, we brought in the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme to resolve income tax disputes pending in appeal. The scheme has received a great response, with nearly 33,000 taxpayers having availed of the scheme to settle their disputes. I have a few proposals to promote investment and employment. It is proposed to provide a presumptive taxation regime for non-residents who provide services to a resident company that is establishing or operating an electronics manufacturing facility. I further propose to introduce a safe harbor for tax certainty for non-residents who store components for supply to specified electronics manufacturing units. Presently, the tonnage tax scheme is available only to sea-going ships. The benefits of existing tonnage tax scheme are proposed to be extended to inland vessels registered under the Indian Vessels Act 2021 to promote inland water transport in the country. Extension for incorporation of startups. We continue to support the Indian startup ecosystem. I propose to extend the period of incorporation by 5 years to allow the benefit available to startups which are incorporated before 1/4/2030. In order to attract and promote additional activities in the IFSC, I am inter alia proposing specific benefits to ship leasing units, insurance offices, and treasury centers of global companies which are set up in IFSC. Further, to claim benefits, the cutoff date for commencement in IFSC has also been extended by 5 years to 31/3/2030. Category 1 and Category 2 AIFs are undertaking investments in infrastructure and other such sectors. I propose to provide certainty of taxation to these entities on the gains from securities, to promote funding from sovereign wealth funds and pension funds to the infrastructure sector. I propose to extend the date of making an investment by 5 more years up to 31st March 2030. Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Democracy, demography, and demand are the key support pillars in our journey towards Vikasit Bharat. The middle class provides strength for India's growth. This government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has always believed in the admirable energy and ability of the middle class in nation building. In recognition of their contribution, we have periodically reduced their tax burden. Right after 2014, the nil tax slab was raised to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, which was further raised to 5 lakh rupees in 2019 and to 7 lakh rupees in 2023. This is reflective of our government's trust on the middle class taxpayers. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees. per month other than the special rate income such as capital gains under the new regime. This limit will be 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers due to the standard deduction of 75,000. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings and investment. In the new tax regime, I propose to revise tax rate structures as follows. 0 to 4 lakh rupees nil, 4.8 lakh rupees to 4 to 8 lakh rupees 5%, 8 to 12 lakh rupees 10%, 12 to 16 lakh rupees 15%, 16 to 20 lakh rupees 20%, 20 to 24 lakh rupees 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees 30%. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of normal income other than special rate income such as capital gains. I read that again. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of income other than special rate income such as capital gains, tax rebate is being provided in addition to the benefit due to slab rate reduction in such a manner that there is no tax payable by them. The total tax benefit of slab rate changes and rebate at different income levels can be illustrated with a few examples. A taxpayer in the new regime with an income of 12 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees in tax, which is 100% of tax payable as per the existing rates. A person having income of 18 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 70,000 rupees in tax. That is 30% of tax payable as per existing rates. A person with an income of 25 lakh gets a benefit of 1,10,000 rupees. That is 25% of his tax payable as per existing rates. Details of my tax proposals are given in the annexure. As a result of these proposals, Honorable Speaker, sir, revenue of about 1 lakh crore in direct taxes and 2,600 crores in indirect taxes will be foregone. Mr. Speaker, sir, with this, I commend the budget to this august House.
Item number 2, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table the following statements under Section 3(1) of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. Medium-term fiscal policy cum fiscal policy strategy statement and macroeconomic framework statement.
Item number 3, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2025.
प्रश्न ये है कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी अब विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करें।
Sir, I introduce the bill.
थैंक यू। सभा की कार्रवाई सोमवार दिनांक 3 फरवरी 2025 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है।
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in her 8th budget, has just delivered massive changes in income tax, which will concern every single citizen, or many of you watching at this time. Let's try and make sense of what she is doing and why. She's also foregoing government revenue to the tune of 1 lakh crore rupees, she said, on direct taxes as a consequence. This at a time when the government was trying to mop up revenue. Shankar, are you here? This is big. This is what the middle class has been waiting for. This is what viewers of India Today have been waiting for. Try and explain how this plays out and the impact it has on the lives of our viewers.
So essentially, the tax proposals free about 70,000 rupees at the lower tax levels and over 1 lakh at the higher tax levels at the hands of the taxpayer. The bet is basically that this will drive consumption, this will boost sentiments, and that this will register growth on the scale. There is one sort of fly here which we need to clarify. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that up to 12.75 lakhs is clean, no tax for salaried people, and up to 12 lakhs for others. Now, in that 12 lakhs, she specified twice that capital gains or special income will not be included. We need to see what is the clarification there, whether if you are a retired person and you have sold some shares to sort of pay for your living, whether that gets taxed or not. But this is a bet on growth. And there are a couple of other things that she's done which is very helpful. So, as I said before, that there is the cost of living, cost of governance, and cost of business. Now, she's created scope for ease of living in the sense that she has expanded the TDS limits. She has removed some TCS. She has expanded TCS on remittances for families who have people abroad, and she's removed TCS on education expenses if it's based on a loan. And then there are a whole slew of measures. Now, some of this budget will get lost in the packaging and lost in translation. I hope somebody does a decent job of presenting it again in the sense that, to convey the factors. There are small points in it, and there are large numbers of numbers. So, for instance, there is this proposal to fund small nuclear projects. The target is, I think, about
100 gigawatts of nuclear.
100 gigawatts. Now, the allocation is 20,000 crores. Each gigawatt costs something like $6 billion. So, how is that funding going to happen? All those details are unknown.
We will come to that, but the big picture story, Rahul, is that you've got the government trying in some way to send out a message to the middle class, which many believe was the most modified middle class 10 years ago, that look, we haven't entirely ignored your concerns. I think that's the big political message, because the sense was that while you were giving Ladli Bahin, various benefits, free bus rides, and other benefits to the poor or those who are below the poverty line, what was the middle class getting from a government that the middle class believed they had an important hand in voting for? You mentioned a Delhi election in 1 week from now, but I think it's beyond just the Delhi middle class. I maintain that voter already votes for the BJP. I think it's in sending a signal. If I am raising the income tax slab where I don't have to pay tax from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs, I'm automatically benefiting a large number of people who are precisely those who felt, what is this government giving to me? So that's a fairly substantial jump when you go from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs. The other slabs are also going to be revised. Importantly, she said she will be bringing a fresh income tax bill next week, where she's spoken that she will focus on nyay and not dand. We'll have to see whether that actually happens, because, that is where I think far more people will benefit when it comes to business and stirring growth. Because the challenge, it's all very well to have the headline on income tax. The challenge is growth. How she's going to address the growth challenge, we are still not clear.
But it's also about sentiment, Rajiv Mantri.
Absolutely.
What this does is, it answers the question, middle class ko kya diya? Earlier there was a bet on rationalizing corporate taxations. She's also said that there'll be only one cess. So this whole multiplicity of cesses, she's suggesting will be dealt with. What's your reading of the budget?
No, and in the new tax regime, the limit is 12.75 lakhs actually, which is, I feel, a very significant jump up from where we were, around 6.5, 7 lakhs earlier. And now 12.75 lakhs of income will be tax-free. So that is a very big fillip to the people who are just entering the workforce on their first job. They will be outside the tax net. They will get to keep everything they earn.
No, you're betting on them then using that extra money to consume. I mean, that is your
So
bet.
what they do is their choice. It's not a question of government deciding for them what they want to do. If
No,
they want
tell
to
me,
consume,
what
they
has
can
she
consume.
done in this budget to stimulate growth? You see, that's the challenge
No,
that
she's
I
betting
mean,
on consumption,
there's a lot
Rajdeep.
of little tinkering.
No,
The
no,
first
she's
half
betting
of
on consumption.
This is a
So
very
she's betting on
important step
consumption
forward.
just as a few years
This is
ago
a
you
very
bet on
important step
corporates.
forward to bring a new direct tax code, which we'll see the bill next week. We have already seen that the limit has been so meaningfully raised. Moreover,
How
when
are
it
you
comes
pushing
to
growth? I'm asking the question.
you look at all the futuristic areas that they're talking about, nuclear energy, new geospatial mission. So these are all productivity enhancing new industries and new sectors, which for the first time there's a government talking about deep technology in the country, bringing the most cutting edge innovations into our industry, bringing all kinds of R&D programs that will support productivity enhancements.
Growth. How is this budget boosting growth? What was the big idea for growth beyond saying that I bet on the middle class now consuming more with the tax breaks I give them?
So there are two elements of growth. Short-term growth, immediate need to boost consumption from the middle class. So that's what is being addressed on the tax code. Then there's the long-term structural growth that India needs. There's a lot of little initiatives across, whether it's AI, technology, startups, the startup fund, that will stimulate growth longer term, innovation longer term. I think the other thing that will help short-term growth to some extent is this whole emphasis on MSME and job creation. And that MSME investment and the credits she's giving and that credit card that has come up, that will create, release some working capital pressures on the MSMEs because they're always capital starved and they'll be able to invest, maybe hire more people, that will spur consumption. So I think this budget is also doing both consumption-led growth to some extent at a smaller level and investment-led because you're also focusing a lot on import duties reduction, breaks for manufacturing, innovation. I was hoping for R&D tax credits, which I didn't hear, so that hasn't happened. But there is, at least on the manufacturing side, there is some credit being given, so that will boost investment. But yes, I think it's going to be hard for anyone to really figure out what that growth number will be because there's so many small initiatives that, to work the math, to come up with a number is going to be difficult.
It's interesting, just purely looking at it, therefore, Rahul, as I said earlier today, in terms of transition, if you saw the last budget, so much of talk of unemployment and berozgari. If you saw the 2023 budget, so much of focus on Kisan. I know she started with agriculture as the first engine of growth, but the truth of the matter is, I think it was her final statement to the middle class that effectively is the political messaging of this budget. And I think that's critical not just for the Delhi elections, but the BJP recognizing or the Modi government recognizing that this is the class that drove us to power. We need to send out a message to them and then bet on them consuming more. You're placing a bet that when I change tax slabs, I am incentivizing people. Now with your savings, please go out and consume.
But it's a very big idea. It's not a small idea, Rajdeep. Let's not undermine.
No, what is the big idea?
I'll tell you what
What's
the
the
idea
big
is.
idea?
So if you see,
If I'm changing 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs is not a big idea. Let's be very clear.
Salary देख के बोल रहे हो
No,
ना?
I don't know what's the idea.
No,
Please tell me the idea.
I'll tell you what the idea is. See, here's the deal. If 7 had gone to 9, you can say it's just tinkering. 7 has gone to 12, which basically means, and now first
What's the idea, I asked?
30% taxation was on people above 15 lakhs. That's now gone up to 25 lakhs. So you're trying to kind of send a message that you're trying to rationalize direct taxes and your income tax, which is what a lot of people were looking out for.
That will come with the income tax bill. If the income tax bill shows that, yes, just this is really providing the middle class a sense of comfort. That's not an idea yet. That's my view.
You have to look at it in the totality. What does the income tax relief cost the government? 1 lakh crore. So essentially 1 lakh crore has been set free into the economy for consumption, saving, investment, whatever the people decide to do. This is the demand side of the picture. On the supply side of the picture, you've created some impulses in agriculture. I think the Udyam credit idea, which I had sort of been campaigning for, has come through. So that will create impulses at the small and micro level.
That's
And
the credit card scheme.
Credit card for the small and micro enterprises. The other things that are there in the budget from, for urbanization, some of this is like a hope balloon, some of it is very strategic. The nuclear thing is clearly aimed at getting on the right side of the Trump administration. The tariff levels, bands reduction is to woo the Americans to come. So there are also this NRIs manufacturing in India or giving services in India. So there are a lot of, the story has not been told very well. This is like a Quentin Tarantino film where there is, something is up, something is in the second phase, something in the fourth phase. But, she has delivered the political message in the last over of the match, so to speak, where India's middle class is being told, we hear you. And there, I think there will be a lot of sentiment boost to the
But a lot of it is about sentiment. I just want to show you one data set which has just come out. This is not from the budget numbers, but is to do with the budget numbers, where
and of course the market is down.
The red line that you're seeing represents India today, and the others are our competition, whether it's a CNN, News 18, NDTV, Republic World, Times Now. So you see through the budget speech, which started around 11 a.m., the massive lead that India today has versus all competition. So I was just doing the numbers. If you were to aggregate our competitors, you would still not reach the live concurrent viewership of India today throughout the budget speech. So that's quite significant. Just the massive, monstrous lead that India today enjoys over all competition. Interesting live concurrent data this, so it can't be rigged. It's impossible to fix. And the massive boost that you've got, which keeps Rajdeep, India today way ahead of all competition put together.
There's a little GDP story here from Rahul.
If the economy were growing like India today's viewership, then we'd really be on the fast path of becoming Viksit Bharat.
And we're not buying eyeballs, as some people even now attempt to do, even on YouTube increasingly. But, the fact is the sentiment that Rahul mentioned. A lot of budget is about sentiment increasingly. Many of the Modi government in particular, its major legislations are brought outside the budget. That's where it brings in some of its game-changing reforms over the years. Given that there is this sentiment, how do you see it actually translating? The markets, for example, are giving a thumbs down as of now. What explains that? Why is the market sentiment not matching the sense of middle-class sentiment with these tax cuts?
Okay, so I'll give you a simple answer for why the market is not really enthused. And that's because all the measures have been announced for either the villages, the rural areas, MSMEs. There's not much that has been announced for the corporates. And the market...
Nothing wrong in that,
right.
For a change.
So I'm just saying, so the market reacts to where they can make money. The corporates that they invest in, they have not seen a big change.
What would they have liked?
No, but can I just press you to say, Punita, the fact that 1 lakh crore rupees is being set free, the government's releasing that, has a multiplier effect of its own. If people have this extra disposable income, they potentially go out and spend part of it, which creates a virtuous consumption cycle. So there is some logic to what is being attempted. Now the impact it has and the extent to which that money gets spent is a different matter. But that is at least the big idea that Nirmala Sitharaman and Prime Minister Modi are trying to implement.
Yeah, you're right. So there will be some consumption benefit. The demand will increase for companies on the those that are consumption-led. But will it really give them huge growth or boost in earnings, maybe 1%, 0.5% or whatever? So I don't know how much it will really change the earnings profile of the companies.
What did they want? What did the markets want? What did they want that was not delivered?
My reading is slightly different. I would say this has got to do with probably a higher expectation of capital expenditure. And as Shankar had pointed out, some of the earlier budget itself on capex has not been fully utilized. So which is why the government has probably kept it where it was, roughly. The expectation was of higher capital expenditure.
We'll have to see the details of what is the capex, because she didn't mention whether it's 11 lakh crores again or 12 lakh crores.
10.8, I think.
So that's one story. And the other, I think there is some fine print in this. The stock market is full of chartered accountants who must have now figured out something. And one of my CA friends has written saying that there is a special rate for certain kinds of incomes. which has not been sort of clarified.
No, you're saying there's a TNC. You're saying there are terms and conditions attached.
Conditions apply. So she's saying that there is a special rate income. So basically, this 12 lakh exemption is not without conditions. So,
Okay, so let's try and get Divya Baveja. She's a partner at Deloitte, an expert on taxation. So Divya, try and explain to our viewers as simply as you can on the implications that this rationalization and direct tax structure has on the lives of those who are watching across the income pyramid.
So, thanks, Rahul. So, if I look at, say, take the example of 12 lakhs, which the finance minister mentioned. So, if I were to see the current slabs under the new regime, and if I look at the proposed slabs under the new regime, there will be saving of 80,000 rupees for such individuals if I were to compare the taxes under the slab which was in the new regime currently in place and under the new regime which is being proposed as per the new slabs. So I'm just going with the example of 12 lakhs because that is where the finance minister mentioned that there will be nil tax up to 12 lakh rupees. And for a salaried individual, it will become 12 lakh 75,000 because 75,000 is the standard deduction. So if I take 12 lakh 75,000 rupees, 75,000
No, sure. So that I've
goes as standard
understood.
deduction.
She's also said
Yeah.
that cesses and surcharges will be reduced to just one. There'll be just one. She didn't explain that much further, but what did you understand of that? Which are the cesses, surcharges that are likely to go?
See, cesses and surcharge, if I recall, she talked more in the custom tariff concept. I don't think she talked in the context of income tax, but we'll have to see the finance bill and see the fine print to see whether it applies in income tax also or not. Well, that was more in the context of, if I recall correctly, was in the context of the tariff, customs tariff.
Shankar Iyer has a question. Shankar.
So she mentioned twice something about capital gains being not being part of this 12 lakh exemption.
Yes.
Did I hear her right or did I hear her wrong?
That is no. The reason why she said because capital gains is taxed separate, it's under special tax regime because the rates are different. If I were to look at any capital gain, say if I were to look at long-term capital gain, the rates are different. So she said that will be kept out of that. So that is what she had mentioned because here we are looking at the regular rates, yeah.
And she's also introducing an income tax bill, she says, a week from now.
Yes, yes.
What does that hold out for you? Does that give you optimism that while you've touched tax slabs in the budget, you're actually going to give much more in terms of making it easier in terms of compliance and other issues in that bill?
Yes, it does. Because if you recall last year when the budget was announced in July, she did talk about the new income tax bill. And what she mentioned in today's speech also, that the new income tax bill is supposed to make the provisions clearer, simpler, reduce litigation, and also streamline the processes, including the number of provisions that have been reduced. So I'm sure this is going to make it simpler and clearer. That's the intention. So we'll have to
adding
see.
to what has happened today, if a week from now we have that income tax bill in place, would you say that's the most significant takeaway for you and will encourage both consumers today and business hopefully in a week from now?
Yes, I'm sure it should. Yes. See, because let's look at one thing. What do people want when they look at any of the tax laws? They want simplicity, clarity, reduce litigation, and make the processes simple. So I think that is the direction in which the new income tax bill should be looking. We should be looking at, which is what even the finance minister mentioned in her speech.
Any other queries?
No, so we'll come back, Divya, in just a moment. I want to understand the focus on deregulation and doing away with laws. Raji Mantri, she's spoken a lot about that, you know.
The regulatory
trying
commission,
to get out of the
regulatory
way,
reforms commission,
trying
that
to
was-
reduce
Yes.
rules by half. The critical question there, of course, will be implementation of what she's saying.
So let's see what shape and form the Regulatory Reforms Commission takes. I will be curious to see who are the members, what is the mandate. The FM explicitly excluded the financial sector from it. So it will probably cover the other industries, not the financial industry, which is fine because we need a lot of regulatory reforms actually for the real economy.
But
The question is,
the
and-
main
and-
thing
and
is whether
Shankar-
the Regulatory Reform Commission covers the state governments, because the mess is in the state governments.
So she mentioned about collaborating with state governments.
Huh.
I mean, that's why it will
Yeah.
be important to see what shape it takes and.
You know, a senior economist who's worked with previous government said everyone wanted a 1991 speech. We have an 1881 type speech, My Baap Sarkar still. Do you think this is still the My Baap Sarkar mindset? That's something that you've always spoken about, written about. At the end of the day, government knows best. It's very different in that sense to what the chief economic advisor. Show me where the government is saying we are getting out of business. Where is that message
you
gone?
one
So the expansion of the TDS, the removal of TCS, the Regulatory Reforms Commission seems to be a kind of minor retreat of the government, the state, or the Leviathan as we see it. The My Baap Sarkar, I mean, in a country where 80 crore people are being given free ration and stuff like that, you can't sort of run away from that truth. But the concept of allowing private enterprise to come in, the private partnerships, the effort to bring in private sector into nuclear energy, all of this shows that there is a movement.
And the good news is,
significant
and the
move
good news is, unlike the previous budget where she was accused at times of going back to old style protectionism, this time there is not a whiff of that. The good news is that instead you're giving hope that you actually realize that policy doesn't work. So you're ready
No, I don't know whether that's realization or whether that is Uncle Trump.
No, that's the question. But whether it is Uncle Trump or realization, that's good news. That you're not doing what you've been accused in the past of doing, of going back to almost a sort of Swadeshi sentiment, but now saying we're going to cut tariffs where necessary. We're going to sort of encourage people to come and invest in India. So it's a slight move away from the sort of make in India, protect Indian industry. That's good. That's a good sign in this global scenario. Trump will be happy or the Americans will
Raising
be
the
happy.
FDI limit to 100% for insurance.
So that's good. That again is a
let's
good
spend
sign.
some time. It also says, Punita, that this is where premiums are fully invested in India. Is that a bit of a dampener? Do you think 100% FDI in insurance will lead to more foreign investment coming into the insurance sector?
Yes, I think so, because every company is looking to capture the Indian consumer globally, because it is still the fastest growing set of their growth basket. Everybody wants a piece of this, and so to the extent that they can own that 100%, that future growth makes them want to be here more. They have more control, governance control. Many 100% also means board control and lot of say in how you do.
Joint venture partner and so on.
Yeah, so I think definitely it'll spur. One of the other things that
It
I
also
was
will
thinking.
enable listing of some of this insurance. That, like for instance, they have allowed for health and health and life to be listed. Now the IRDA is saying that you should list if you've been in business for so many years. So the foreigners will
certain
feel
major-
more confident of listing.
And certain major insurance giants, like Berkshire Hathaway of the US, they've always stayed away from the Indian market because they never wanted to get into a situation where they have to kind of have a joint venture.
Right.
So now they can come in directly, own the entire business, and as Punita ji said, take part in the great Indian consumer story.
So 2 points. I was just thinking about your question, Rahul. Why is the market down? One, maybe the slippage on the fiscal deficit. I think we've not talked about that. There is, she acknowledged the slippage, so bond yields could be going up. It's hard to really assess, but I think this budget, despite the consumption boost, will not be inflationary because there's enough supply side measures that have been taken. So consumption will increase, but inflation will not. That's at least my initial read without having read the fine print, which is good. But bond yields will go up because government, fiscal slippage has been mentioned, and we don't know what that will be next year because a lot of these are long-term growth initiatives and, fellowships, scholarships, investment in, MSMEs. There's a lot of money going there, but, how will that be financed? It's not clear to me.
Explain to me why last year's capex budget, the exact figures that are there, last year's capex budget estimate was 11.11 lakh crores. It's now down to 10.18 lakh crores. Explain that. Why would that
Because
have
there was
happened?
an election, a lot of focus was on the election. During that period, the model code of conduct was in place. So a lot of the capacity expansion budget that was there
Was not
in
fully
the first
utilized,
quarter
actually.
did not get utilized. In the December numbers that came out yesterday, Rajdeep, government capex is up 95% on a year-on-year basis for that month. So they're now trying to catch up in what was left. But obviously, you know, in the first 3 months of the year and in the initial few weeks of the government coming to power, enough wasn't being spent by the government on capacity expansion.
But Rahul, you know, I have sort of looked at this explanation of elections. Now, most of this, the budget came in July, okay? And 11.11 lakh crores. A large number of these bigger projects, the large projects, are cleared much in advance. I mean, it's only brought into the allocation system. So I'm not fully convinced whether it was the election. I think what has happened here is state governments have struggled to put their part funding in, because some of these projects are part funded by the state government. The other thing which Mr. Gadkari and others have been speaking about is the states lack the capacity to execute the plans to bring projects to the plug-and-play system. Now, what has happened after the 5.4% GDP number is that everybody has got activated and said, okay, we got to fix this because the year-end figure should not drop below 6. Now, I still suspect that the year-end number may not be 6.4 or 6.2. I still feel that it will be closer to 6. So there is this pressure that has made this 95. I mean, there could also be a base effect in the December number. So we have to look at what happened in last December. I think the ability of governments to execute large projects is seriously suspect.
Is there a recognition of that as well? Just as I said, the recognition that maybe protectionism is not the way forward.
State governments.
Is there a recognition of that?
Basically, state governments, you know, for instance, Tamil Nadu has had no problem getting FDI, no problem getting investment. All the large projects are going there. They have no land problem. They have no labor problem. The largest number of women workers in manufacturing, electronics, everything. So all it requires is for other states to look, boss, what are you doing right that we need to do? I mean, Tamil Nadu is on per capita level competing with other high, middle income or high income countries. In terms of its investment push, they are competing with Vietnam to get investments. No, that's the kind of thing that, you know, that kind of state government.
More states actually which have that kind of an approach and
Bihar better start doing more investment given how many SOPs they have received.
No, but that's because of the election. See, when there was an election in Andhra Pradesh, everything went...
Unfortunately, none of this will be received in there. I mean, for the...
Why?
I mean,
They'll build new airports?
So look at...
There's a greenfield airport, there's a Makhana board. For example, the Makhana board. You see, this is the...
Rajdeep, you have to look at the per capita geography of India's economy. India's average per capita income is somewhere near 2 lakh rupees, whatever. Okay, Telangana is highest at 3.5 lakh rupees. Uttar Pradesh is around 84. Bihar is at 54. The district of Shehar in Bihar has a per capita income of 18,000. So for them to recognize an airport and all is like
there's a Makhana board, expansion of Patna airport, IIT Patna gets expanded, the Kosi irrigation project comes out, National Food Technology Institute. Arey, elections ki baat hai, bhai, usko bhi to focus karna. You have an election towards the latter part of the year.
Yeah, but I think, you know, going ahead, that is going to be a challenge from, you know, the fact is, and that's nothing to do with this government. That's been a challenge that every government has had over the last 50 years. How are you going to ensure that the faster growing states that the slower growing states in any way can catch up with the faster growing states? It is a serious problem. Now, you can't expect the budget or the finance minister to resolve that. The execution capacity of different states is at a very different stage. Different states have much, you know, have shown the capacity to embrace the new world. Others have stayed behind. Bihar is not going to change simply because 3 projects have come to Bihar. You know, this is the kind of tokenism, frankly. It's not going to change the map of Bihar. Bihar needs execution capacity starting in Patna. It's not going to change because of what happens in Delhi.
Definitely a feel-good factor that Biharis should feel.
No, but in July there were so many schemes for Bihar. Has anything changed in 7 months? It hasn't.
Rajdeep, it's 20 years almost since Nitish Kumar has been in power.
I was just going to say that. Okay,
all the Suraj talk, everything. I mean, how many industries have gone to Bihar? It can be the food basket in many ways.
No, I think
and 20 years is a long time to make a difference.
I've got Niranjan Hiranandani joining us. He's the managing director of the real estate Hiranandani Group. Thank you very much, Mr. Hiranandani, for joining us. There was a reference to incentives for a second flat being purchased. So A, specifically on the real estate sector, and B, more broadly as far as India Inc. is concerned, your takeaways from this budget?
I think a couple of things which have been flagged off. Number one, you have a new income tax bill which is coming in. But you still have 85 clauses which are amending the present law. So we have to see what the new bill is going to become effective from. Is it going to be effective from this year, or is it going to be for the subsequent year? So we'll have to see how that bill comes into force, because the present law, they have already proposed 85 things. The positive 2 points which I can immediately see on the housing sector. One is about the 2 houses. This was a little not clear that if you had 2 houses, you were still supposed to pay tax on the fact that you were having more than 1 house. One may be in the place of work and one in the place where you have a village or whatever it is. So I think that exemption has come through. So that's important that has happened. They've given support for mergers and acquisitions, because what happens is that a large number of companies are doing the merger in the real estate sector, especially when investments coming in from FDI and other things. So I think they've tried to do it. The most important part of it for a lot of people who have invested money but their projects are stuck has been the reinstigating of the Swami Fund. Earlier, they had done 10,000 crores 6-7 years ago, and that was helping. And they've said about 1 lakh apartments, and I believe the second one is 15,000. But my belief is that that's not adequate enough. We really need to do it in a much bigger way. And it's possible to do not only with the government funding, but many of the institutions are there. If it can be the last in, first out, which is given to Swami Fund, if that same benefit was given to any other institution, I think we could have 20 Swami Fund, which would take care of the entire deficit of funding which is required. One of the most important things which are kept in a minority of thought, but I think it's very important, is skill development, or the excellence of centers of excellence of skills. I think a lot of emphasis needs to be done for construction workers, because on one side, we are deficit for construction workers. L&T just made a statement about, I think, 45 days back, that they are short of 25,000 workers in the skill sector. And we are now talking about plumbers, electrician, labor of that kind. While my own company needs about 500 workers, we are short of skills. So I think on one side, we have unemployment, and if we can increase this. The last point which I want to add is the fact that I don't think the investment looks big enough. Because if you have to go and grow to the target which we have for 2047, we need to grow at least at 8.5 to 9 to maybe double digit. And for that, a focus on housing and urban infra generally needs to be further increased. So I think there's a little short number there, because if you want to reach your 2047, manufacturing alone will not be able to reach that number, and especially the unemployment. So I think government may have to do a rethink in terms of how much investment they can put into housing and urban infra. You'll solve your housing problem, as well as you'll be able to get the growth story double digit, which can do 2047 to the extent that you want. These are the immediate points which are there. Oh, 1 point. Fiscal consolidation she is focused on, which is a good thing. But I thought if she even exceeded that and put more money into investment, I would have kind of liked it a little more. So I think the focus is on consolidation, but I would have thought that she would have thought of putting in more investment, especially because last year we actually had less investment because of the elections which took place both in the central elections as well as Maharashtra. So I think these are the points which I think are flagged off at the first instance. We'll have to see the fine print and see what are the 85 clauses which are amended, and then probably come back to you.
Mr. Hiranandani, thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you back for more later. We want to go across to Syed Zafar Islam from the BJP. Mr. Islam, you're seeing the markets slightly in the red, both the Nifty and the Sensex down today. And the second question about growth outlook. The chief economic advisor said the growth outlook will be 6.3 to 6.8%. If you think that the slowdown in growth is just temporary and very short term, then why is the government not aiming for higher growth, at least 7% plus growth for next year? The growth outlook will be 6.3 to 6.8%. If you think that the slowdown in growth is just temporary and very short term, then why is the government not aiming for higher growth, at least 7% plus growth for next year?
Zafar Islam?
He can hear us, but I think he has a TV on. Just turn the TV off. Go on.
My phone has disconnected. I don't know whether you are able to hear me or not, but let me respond to you because the mic is on. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go on.
Disconnected. I don't know whether you are able to hear me or not. But yeah, Rahul. So let me respond to your question. First of all, compliments to the Honorable Finance Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, for acceding to the request of middle class, lower strata of the society, and of course the marginalized section of the society, and particularly the taxpayers. Because the big relief, nobody on the street was expecting that the minimum threshold will be 12 lakh. Everybody was talking about 10 lakh, but today they have surprised everyone, and everybody in the country is happy because it is not only 3.5 crore, but the entire family is benefited from this 3.5 crore. Actually, if 5% in every family, then at least 15-20 crore people have been benefited because of this.
Go ahead.
A lot of disturbance. Can you just take me?
Okay, let's try and fix that. We'll come back to you for more in just a moment. There are lots of political reactions coming in from Parliament. Leaders from the government and many from the opposition are speaking, reacting to this budget. So what we'll do is play out some reactions and give you a flavor of how politicians cutting across political lines are really looking at this budget. The opposition, quite predictably, Rajdeep, looking for gaps, and we'll also try and recap some of the key aspects from the Finance Minister's speech. Here she is, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman.
Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings and investment. In the new tax regime, I propose to revise tax rate structures as follows: 0 to 4 lakh rupees nil, 4.8 lakh rupees to 4 to 8 lakh rupees 5%, 8 to 12 lakh rupees 10%, 12 to 16 lakh rupees 15%, 16 to 20 lakh rupees 20%, 20 to 24 lakh rupees 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees 30%. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of normal income, other than special rate income such as capital gains. I read that again. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of income, other than special rate income such as capital gains, tax rebate is being provided in addition to the benefit due to slab rate reduction in such a manner that there is no tax payable by them.
मैं